All right, thank you.
Yeah, so welcome, Mr. Dapo, right here to our platform as usual, and basically the opportunity to serve on this platform with you and dissect some important, relevant issue to our society. So I turn the platform over to you. You want to introduce yourself? You want to pretty much. You seem to be farther down, like lower, and the camera is way above your head.
Yes, there's a reason for that. Let's see here. There's a
Yeah.
reason for
You
that.
wanted to see what's down there.
How is it now? Because
Better, much
I
better.
wanted you to make that adjustment for me.
No,
It's
it's on your end. You got to do that. Yeah, better now.
no, I mean make the adjustment for me. You looking at me from the outside.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it's okay now. It's
So
it's
make
it's
that
better.
adjustment for me. Yeah.
Yeah, much better. So let's
Okay.
turn the platform over to you. I guess you were following. You saw, Ellen, ball courting, that interview that she had with the foreign journalist, and I'm sure you also too saw this wonderful gentleman that took this interview. Credit to him, whoever he is, to Nimba. Try to basically be balanced about his report, because I remember following him when he had this same interview, you know, with people in Monrovia, and 90% of the responses that came under his post were that you know that Monrovia was not just Liberia alone.
Correct.
So it is possible that other counties are doing great, and they seems to just not be fair. So now I guess this gentleman noticed that, and he decided to show transparency. So he ended up in Nimba, knowing Nimba to be one of the leading cities in most talk about. So I mean, to be fair enough, I mean I especially knowing that it's Prince Johnson town, I actually you know expected everything to be well in Nimba, and surprisingly, it did not really show to be such that way. And even when one or two person was in the habit of trying to stop people from talking, they just did not give a damn. Like to say enough is enough. They continue speaking their minds, because it is also their constitutional rights. And then I also too went on to play, the uh, the trip that Yeke Koruba is making around town. The different counties. You know, into each of these places you have ever been, like Bon County, you name it. Like people are actually in support of the peaceful protest. So, what will you have to say to that? What's your own understanding or analysis to everything you have seen?
Well, first of all, let's just take it back to January 22nd, 2018. And before we go to that, let me just introduce myself. I'm J. Randy Doppel, um, the first citizen who started to see the writing on the wall and felt that there needed to be some corrective action. And because of my stand, I lost a lot of people in the process. Because sometimes you got to stand your ground to believe what you think is the right thing to do for the right reason so that people can get to learn. We might not accomplish what we want to get, but starting the process. And after that, I started the classroom show, the show where I discuss every political candidate, including the president, making sure that wherever they go wrong, I come in to provide corrective action. And I think, well, over the course of the time I have ran this show, what I have gathered from my personal observation, we Liberians are not ready for the truth. We believe that if it is our candidate, including the president, when you say anything that is factual, but they see it as something that is very direct, it hurts them and they come after you. And that is not unique just to Mr. Weah, unique to every supporter of their party. So it has become, from my observation, protecting your own territory. But the bigger picture here now is the president who wanted to change. We all campaigned for Mr. Weah, hoping that the change that he promised the people was indeed going to be the change. But I think that change is taking an alternative route wherein the country is really leaking in every sector and every part of the country, and you don't have to live in Liberia to see how things are going. So the question becomes, what has happened to the hope for change? Are we seeing those things happening for the betterment of our people? I don't think so. Because the reason I don't think so is when I look at the president appointment, most especially the first appointment back in, I believe, in January, and started to see the president putting in place individuals who were not competent, individuals who had bad scorecards that had affected the future of the country. It was in that time that I started to have a change of heart, change of mind, and I decided to look at strategies as to what can be done. And I started to call out things as the way I saw it, because I felt that it was going to get very nasty and ugly. And in March, I launched that campaign and I started to provide corrective action, because I said that during the campaign in 2017, on November the 6th, that if this president doesn't do the right thing, I will come back here and provide constructive criticism. Apparently, a lot of people forgot about that and felt that, Randy just doing it for X, Y, Z. But in that audio, I specifically mentioned that it was not about anything else, job, nothing of that count. And I just wanted to make sure that the people of Liberia get what we all campaign for. So we have come this far. We are seeing a lot of scandals. We are seeing a lot of lack of transparency. We are seeing it all, Will. So I think I'm very proud of myself. Even though I supported the government, I'm here always telling them the truth. There are sometimes I made some changes, but I think the greater change that we need is the satisfaction from our people. If the people are not getting the satisfaction, then that is not change the people want. If you see the people making comparison to the past administration and giving the past administration some advantage points, and you as the president don't have the points, that means there's something wrong. We see too many blames that have been thrown from the government. We see too many trips that have been made by the government. We see too many and all assignment in terms of employment without justification. We see the finance minister who is doing things without accountability. The finance minister is my close friend, but from his behavior, I think things are falling from the wayside. So to speak to the other issue on this coming Friday, I think it is a clear indication that President Weah has his a brick wall, because there's nowhere in the world, I don't care whether it's collaboration, that you as an opposition, every political party is established for an institution and it's established for two reasons. When you establish a political party, you must have an idea, and that idea should be supported by your priorities. So to see the ex-president coming to President Weah aid, and we don't know what it was all about, that is a clear indication that the president has hit a brick wall. He has shown to the Liberian people that when things get tough, he don't have people who provide solution to his problem, but he going back to someone who was one time in opposition to him. And it is not about a national crisis. You see, when we had the 9/11 in the United States, when Obama had the Sandy, when Obama had the Louisiana spill, he brought in former president to help him up because that was a national crisis. But to see a president having a policy failure and look up to the opposition, that tells me that something is absolutely wrong. So I think early appearing with the president, I think it's about time that the president begin to rethink himself, begin to look at his cabinet members, and begin to issue pink slip and rebrand himself. Because the only hope he has now is to be able to rebrand himself so that the people of Liberia can give him that second chance. Because it's just only 1 year. There are a lot of missteps that the president has made. And I will admit, because I spoke against that. Number one, even a thief, when he enter your house and he see a watch on the table, he's not going to run for that watch. He will take time by looking left, right, above, and below before making that run for that watch on the table. When Mr. Weah took office, he ignored every sensitive red line, red tape, and he immediately went to build a house. In my mind, when I heard that and I began to see that, I was like, oh my God, this is one of the greatest mistakes that will ever haunt the president's legacy. Because here's why, and I will be bold because I said it on my show so many times. When he was in different capacity, from the soccer legend to the UN ambassador, to Eddie appointing as ambassador, to senator, these kind of big projects did not take place. And for the mere fact that there was not a assets declaration to show how much he had, all those things raised all the alarms that you can think about. And now to see the economy being strangulated, and in the presence you be in your homes, there's no reason that you should not blame anyone to not question why you put yourself before the country interests. So here we are. The first quarter is coming to an end. And next month, the first quarter will end. And by what we call quarterly report to determine performance, the government has failed. Technically, the government has been in office for almost 18 months now, and we are not seeing anything positive. Every day in Liberia is another trauma day. So early appearance to me, to sitting with Mr. Weah last Friday, is a clear indication that he has dropped. He has failed. And the only thing now is for him to reset the button. That's what I have to say with any appearance, and with Mr. Weah. That he has no other option but to go back to Ellen, who is in.
But you said something very important and striking to as well to take into consideration that the fact, this guy or President Weah can consider going back or calling on to Ellen Sirleaf Johnson for a national issue regarding the country. That speaks the incompetence, of let's say his minister, government officials in general. It's, the fact that he's seeking help outside, running outside, and this is a government in the past that he served once, as an opposition too. Criticized this government hugely. On the other hand, we learn. We actually learned that he also to try reaching out, to the VP boycott. So all these people that the president have been reaching out to, these are people during the election, before the election, he greatly criticized, seditious in general criticized, and now he's extending his friendship onto these people that he came into power as, they as his enemies. This speak volume to how well his government is doing or not, and even the people that he entrusts. So, what will you say?
Yeah, you see, Mr. Weah and his supporters, from what I see now, and this is my honest opinion, I think you read my final post this week where I said that he had disappointed me and many other citizens. And here's the reason why I wrote that post. During the campaign season, I wasn't much closer. If you draw the different cycle around the planet, if you have the 9th planet, the main planet, I have the different circle. I would say I will probably within the 9th cycle, beginning from the first cycle being the one closer to the president, and then the 9th cycle away from the president. That's what I was. But what I tried to do on my show, and I spoke to many of them, was number one, in July of 2017, I told the citizen that in how much we have the campaign going on, what we need to do is to look for 250 people and assign at least 3 to each different ministry and agency. And what do I mean by that? That the campaign should be divided into 3 phases. Phase 1, which is the pre-election. Phase 2, which is the post-election. And then phase 3, which is supposed to be the inauguration. So in the phase 1, the 250 people will be people that will be properly vetted. These people will be vetted based on their education, work experience, their moral ethics, and of course their performance. That was 1. Number 2, I also suggested that they have what we call the policy evaluation team that will begin to do research on every ministry for the past 6 to 12 years of performance, looking at budget that was spent in every year, programs, what were achieved from the program by evaluating report. And then the 3rd phase will be the inauguration phase. When I said that, the look that I got from these people was like maybe he's from a different planet, and what he's seeing is something. And I knew that was the beginning. Well, so what happened? The president brought on board, and honestly speaking, a lot of inexperienced people, very inexperienced people. And as you can see from their action, there is nothing. You took a guy who sat down in an African store and only read literature material and came out and provided it to people, and you say, oh, this guy is qualified. You brought a guy who worked at the Ministry of Finance as a consultant when he never even had years of experience, because the way consultancy works, You must be able to work in a specific area for X number of years, and then you give it up and then go into your own practice to be a consultant, because that years that you spend will give you the experience, not the other way around. So we see all those things the president brought on board. And also he brought in folks who, matter of fact, we campaign against, that they have had bad scorecards, their performance in the country have been worst, and he brought all these people. And in the end, many citizens and qualified people were left in the cold. And we all sat down and watched what is going on. But I started to provide constructive criticism. And one thing the president is not good at is listening skills, paying attention to details. He doesn't have the qualities. And the people around him don't think it is necessary that he should be listening to people out here. And now they're seeing the result on the wall.
Well, let me ask you this question. What do you think about June 7 protest?
I think the protest is necessary, because protest is another way. Protests create two things, right? I know in the past, if you look at the history of protest in our country, it had never used any positive result, meaning it had never been sustained. Because if you think about it, and I'll give you a brief history about protests, the movement for justice in Africa started in the 60s by Dr. Amos Sojo, who felt that it needed some justice in Africa, particularly Liberia. But look where Sojo is today. So that particular movement that started as a protest group for justice did not materialize. Then we came to the People Progressive Alliance, the PAA, by Baka Matthew. It did not sustain. And then in between time, we have just a lot of not regular, but once in a while protests, and it did not materialize. But this one, I'm hoping that something will come out of it. And here are my two hopes. Number one, it should be well planned out. Why the shooter are supported, but I don't see that much awareness being provided to the turnout, except for Monrovia. We have 14 counties, and if we want to shake off the tree and we want to root out the tree, the protest has to be coordinated. It has to be planned out in order to draw international attention. When you are calling for protests, key things you want to remember. You want to have major players' attention to be drawn to the protest. You want to make sure that your position statement regarding the issue, especially the most current issue that is affecting the reason why you are protesting, are part of the reason that that protest should be able to get those information from the people. So I'd say the protest is in the right direction, but I had some little doubt, because number one, in Liberia, one person can wear multiple hats, and that is by Liberian standards, which I won't argue on the show here, but there are some individuals who are in the forefront, and I think looking at their scorecards, because you see, the standard that I measure things on, it has so many characters that are involved, and if some of those characters are upside down, so to speak, and you cannot recognize whether it's the letter A or it's the letter V or it's the letter W rather than the letter M, if their track has been like that, then I don't give 100% to the intent, because there is a highly likely possibility that letter that I'm thinking is the letter M, it could be the letter W, or the letter W could be the letter M, so to speak. So based on that, I support the protest, but I have few percentage that I will hold back because of some major players' activities in the past, and that is, I see them as a risky people that could flip because they have had some behavior in the past. But I stand to be corrected, because they say people have the ability to repent and after they repent, they can continue to do the right thing in the right way for the right reason. So I'm not going to hold them, um, blame capacity. I'm just telling you that it's just that you're sitting in a chair, and I say, well, don't sit your behind on that chair 100%. Make sure you push some of your muscle up because that chair can break at any time. That's how I see it. But I think the protest needs to be coordinated. Coordinated meaning churches on Sunday, like tomorrow, people should go to the churches and enlighten the people why the protest is significant. Touching on the important points, go to different civil organizations, make sure that people in the different counties, they don't have to come to Monrovia. They can go to their superintendent office or offices in their county. Now we have
Okay,
technology
but
spread.
okay, let me ask this. I understand your concern. I would love to be blunt, and I would definitely love to speak out. So we know some of the major players that are, leading this protest that I'm sure you are a bit concerned about, like Costa, like Yeke Koluba. Um, we even like Darius DeLong. Okay, we know that these people, they have shown some despicable uh, past that, I mean, some people like you will feel that they don't have, that right to be trusted to do this or go or get involved in such thing, you know. But yeah, but the thing here is that I would like to relate this whole issue to what do you think is going to be the basic tools in order to fix the past. Like, for example, we all saw that we saw Ellen video that she had with the foreign journalist. I mean, a key point there was that she was asked regarding the civil crisis we had in Liberia, that she supported Charles Taylor logistically and financially. She admitted yes. That means that that ties her even to the accusation of the lives of over 250,000 that was lost in Liberia.
Mm,
She's highly responsible as well.
true.
I personally listened to BBC once when she made the recording with BBC that ECOMO should level the mansion, knowingly very well at the time then. There were people, Liberians, like you and I, seeking refuge right
True.
within that mansion. And this journalist boldly asks to leave after admitting to her support to Charles Taylor. Do you believe that then you owe the Liberian people apologies? She bluntly said no. From that point in time, she started causing trouble just to excuse herself out of that interview. Now, I don't know about you, but I know there are people who are still in support of the War Economic Crime Court. Even some of them that works in this very administration. For example, one like Yeke Koluba, actually being blunt, coming up feeling that he needs to pay for the atrocity of his crime against the Liberian people. As well as General Bodneke has been in that same line and path too. So, if you are looking at people like that are driving this protest for such a reason, want transparency, and up to now still speak, about the War and Economic Crime Court, why will you still have a doubt about such people? I mean, and also I know Henry Costa, as well, have done one of the despicable things, like when he lost during his race. He came on the national radio on air and he insulted the Liberian people because he wasn't voted by the people that he expected to have voted him into seat. And today, he's asking them to join him in this protest, knowing this very well too, that this protest, when you flip it on the other side, could be the answer to a lot of our questions. Like, for instance, are we going to get justice? Are we going to get War and Economic Crime Court to our country? This is about raising the voice of the Liberian people that the international community is going to hear. So, why do you think, why are you having doubt about those kind of people?
Yeah, thank you. That kind of drill in a little bit, and I think I can button it from up to the bottom here. For me, I always like to take a historical approach to things, because historical approach will always give you some data that you need to look at in order to prepare yourself for whatever project that may come your way. You see,
folks
who came to Liberia with protests, what had the protests done for the country? If you see Gada Amos Soldier, Gada Tupana Tipote, Dr. H. Weah formula, these individuals, they went to Liberia and routed people up to carry out protest. In that process, some people died. All right? Some people died in the process. And where are they today? They all had served individually in government, and the wealth they had accumulated. Where are the results? The result is the fact that many people who supported them, their children today are left to fetch for themselves. But they gain from it. All right? So the problem there is there are two things that got lost in the process. The organization through which they came did not sustain itself. Like today in America, you got an ACLU, you got an NAACP, you list those things. Black Lives Matter today. The Black Lives Matter today was an institution that started from protests, but it sustained it, but to build it into an institution. We fail to do these things. Now, when it comes to the individuals, H. Bowman Formula were right in the office there with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And there are things that Ellen did that are things that when Doe did, those guys were very, very defensive when it came to that. But when Ellen was doing it, when Dr. H. Bowman Formula's sister came to the United States, she was on one of the shows where I had to be that time. I asked her, Miata Formula, everything that is going on in the country, your brother was an outspoken and loud person during the Doe administration, happened in the Eddie administration as a security advisor. Do you feel the comfortable position your brother is in today? Or she said to me, well, I think from what he sees, everything is fine. Now, let's come into this whole present and future march that we're talking about. Like I said, I always look at standards. Maybe it's because of the society and organization that I have worked into and how people measure performance, how people look at character, how people build trust based on integrity. So these things have become part of my daily routine of how I look at things. So when I look at these individuals who I had a little question about, it is their God-given right. It is their legal right. But for me, it's just like they say, come from your house, don't bring water. I say, no, I'll put a little water in my pocket. And, just in case, because I cannot rely on them, because they have history. And here's why. You see, God as Darius DeLong, and I'm not going to single all these individuals but I want people who listen to me to get to understand when I say I have a little doubt about these people. God as Darius DeLong as number one. This man was with Ellie. He made a trip to the UN. He came to Australia. Those things were something that were not really merit, but it was privilege that were given to them. But they were not speaking at that time.
Well, it's saying at some point in time, Darius DeLong spoke out.
Hold on. Let me just give everything to you so you can start. Now, everything came to an end. Nobody said anything. Carter Rufus Neville. This man has been in the Liberia National Legislature, drawing the X amount of money that people have been complaining about. And he never said anything in regards to that. But because he's out of office now, he has become the biggest advocate. Mo Ali, you and I paying student loan in this country. Mo Ali came during the early administration and went to one of the most expensive schools. How did he get that money? How many Liberians couldn't have gotten that opportunity to come here? Some of us, when we were in Liberia, to even get a scholarship to go to Nigeria or even to a local school was difficult. But he got those things on silver platter. And they were in the government and saw everything. When Eddie said, I take 4 for Nukao, they didn't speak out. Now, let's come to the grand poobah of all, Mr. Costa. I met Costa in 2011 when he was a single, I think it was 2011, 2012, but in 2011, 2015, right in that bracket. I met him in Wilmington downtown when he came to the United States. I went and personally said, thank you, Mr. Costa. I have been listening to you. I've been listening to you because the voice that you speak, it speaks for my older sister. She had never worked in her life, and the administration, I thought it was going to be there for Liberians. And at that point of time, Costa wasn't affiliating with any political party. And just how when new company come into being, establish the IPO, he had not provided his IPO as to who you are going to support. So at that time, he was a very quiet guy. And I started to, admire him a lot. And then he brought up Ellen. I think there was a time that there's a guy called Dangote. He wanted to build a coal plant in the Cannonville area. And Costa called me to speak on some environmental issue, which I did. And that, with him, turned our whole case upside down. And I was like, wow. Even when I was about to get a job with the EPA, I called Costa from my Princeton office and asked for his input. And the advice he gave me, I prevailed on that advice based on other professional advices that I sought at that time. And I decided to turn down that position because certain things were not being met. So I built that relationship of confidence in him. But then, throughout the time, what happened in the early government, how he looked at Borka, how he looked at the other people. And then after the first round of the election, and he started going back to the very people that he presented to the Liberian people, that these people are not people that we should trust, and campaigning for them. I was like, oh my God, what has gotten into Costa? Has he lost his integrity? Has he lost his value? Has he lost the awareness? What has happened to him? And I started to take a step back. And then further down the road, He came and sat down with Smith Toby and said, I cannot be an advocate anymore because I have a family. And I said, okay, you got a point there. Because you cannot keep fighting all the time, especially if you can't win. But then later on, I saw him with the president. So, okay, that's good. But then what happened today now? That he's had defaulted to something else. So when people see me writing on Facebook and asking questions, it's not because I dislike it. No, I don't dislike nobody. But I'm trying to figure out who is he. How can I personally and professionally look up to him when he keeps flipping? And nobody should get me wrong, because this is how people evaluate people in the culture that I find myself in the United States. Everybody may live in the United States, but there are certain places that when you work, certain community you live, certain people you associate yourself with, these values are measured to determine who you are. And from that background I come from. So with all these guys being part of the protest, well, looking at their performance scorecards, I just had little doubt in my mind whether they're going to flip if something goes wrong.
Okay.
That's that, and nobody should hold me. These are things that anybody will hold. It's like your husband being a cheater. He comes to you, or your wife being a cheater, and she comes to you and say, "Oh, honey, I'm done with this thing here." But then you say, "You know what? I will trust my wife, but there will be a little thing in my mind. I will trust my husband, but there will be a little thing in my mind because it will take time for me to fully recover and get that trust."
Okay, so
and this is where I am. This is where I am with those things. Well, this is where I am with those things. You know, because of their past performances, that's why I'm having a little doubt. But no doubt in my mind that these guys should carry out the protest. Because President Weah, he's a guy that don't listen. One thing I said before you come in, during part of my corrective action to President Weah, I told President Weah on December 31st, and that broadcast right after the election, I had about 16,000 people who listened to that broadcast. In that broadcast, I said, President Weah, you are not president for Ellen. You are not president for Professor Suni. You are not president for CDC. You are president for the entire Liberian community. And I also said to Mr. Weah, you need to go back to the 14 counties and begin to dialogue through a town hall meeting to ask the Liberian people, what do they want you to do? It's not just building roads. The country went to war.
Okay,
There's so many things that got destroyed.
Okay.
But the president refused to take the advices. And sometimes, if you can listen professionally, there's something called, when you build program, you implement it, you plan the program, you implement the program, and then you monitor the program. But at the same time, in that monitoring process, you got compliance and you got enforcement. So the protest now technically is the enforcement aspect of the whole process that will compel the president. Because remember, protest, like I said, produces two things. Protest will produce policy change, and protest group can be turned into another civil societal group. So,
so
people, I will look
let me come
to
in
see
here.
a better protest. Go ahead.
Yeah. The whole 9 yard, I understand what you are talking about. Looking precisely at those people. I'm sure you also too did a follow up. You heard Eugene Fangon planning a counter protest. And the whole thing about what these guys were and what they are standing for now is troubling. We also see that today President Weah is having Ellen in the overall office to discuss national issue. I mean, we all know that's something concerning the country, which
Mm.
is, I mean, logically speaking, it's like alien is still part of the body politics of Liberia and decision making, which doesn't sound too well. But whatever comes out of that meeting up to this time, with everything as we know we have done, do you even want trust this administration any longer? And if we are talking about, a better decision being made, do you think the Liberian people should not re-elect President Weah come 2023?
Yeah, well, let me start from the bottom to the top this time around, right? You spoke about Eugene Fagon. Eugene Fagon is a character that is very troubling to me, all right? I received communication from several journalists, and on one of my shows, I really went after him. But here's the story with Eugene Fagon. It was through you that I came across Eugene Fagon. I remember back in 2015 on the scene show of yours, and thank God for maintaining this this show. And one thing I forgot to mention about Costa here, all right? Since I spoke about maintaining your show.
Mhm.
Costa, in my opinion, you see, the Fox News Network, the radio talk show host Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, and the others, Glenn Beck. Even though Glenn Beck has flipped a little bit, but guys like Rush Limbaugh, they remain with the Republican Party. So just to add a little addendum to Costa issue, I would have supported Henry Costa 100% if he had remained with ALP, but discuss the issue and don't flip to any political party. That means that he's consistent, he has that value structure, he has that integrity. As long as he was going to remain just how Rush Limbaugh is with the Republican Party, and he remained with ALP, but continues to expand and expose national issue, he was going to get those things. Because from my observation, I would say, you know what, he with his party, but we have national issue, and he using his party base to expand on the national issue. So I just want to put that in there. Now, Eugene Fagon, as you know, I met Eugene Fagon on the show. You introduced Eugene Fagon to me. After the campaign, before he was even elected, I said to him, I said, Eugene, no, it was right after he got called. I said, Mr. Fagon, he said, yeah. I said, you remember the lady called Erin Cochran? He said, yeah. So they brought some troubling relationship between diaspora and Liberian, particularly from the United States to Liberia. They go when you go. Because he left during the income tax season. I said, can you do the Liberian people favor from America and just publish how much you think you're worth? You can redact some of the area by blocking some information and reprint it and give it out. He said, yes, I will. I said, all right. After Eugene left, I started contacting Eugene. Eugene, yeah, it's been 1 month now, 2 months, what's going on? Because I wanted for the Liberian people to regain trust in us and don't see every Liberian that go to Liberia to go and take money. After several posts, Eugene Fagon called me right to where I'm sitting now. And my case was playing around. I ain't on speakerphone. I mean, he insulted me. Right after that, I went back on air and I started to cry. I felt hurt. And people like, oh, you're afraid of Eugene Fagon, you this. You know, professionally, when things hit me, I don't go back on air and abuse because I know my character will be online. Most especially with the kind of digital technology we have now where people can record and keep your recording. But then when I started to see Eugene Fagon misbehaving, drunk, insulting people, and President Weah did nothing about it. And then the least that really got me up now, journalists that go to that ministry every Thursday. They are giving money to Eugene Fagon to give to these struggling journalists. And it is being said, and I already put a challenge out there, that Eugene Fagon will take, because each journalist is supposed to get $25. He takes the $20 or the $25 and give the journalist $5.
Wow. How long?
Yeah.
How long has this been going on?
I got all the transcript. The only thing I said on my show that he's a alleged thief, and he need to verify, because the next time I come with that show, I will be providing those information not just on my show, but I will be publishing the information.
Yeah, but my question is, how long has this been going on?
I cannot tell, but those journalists are willing to come on my show and tell me. But I have all the information. There even a minister within Eugene Fagon's office, who not in office but in their building, who in fact has been giving out that money to Eugene Fagon, and I got that communication that he was told to give these people their money. I have the transcript. So I want to discuss the issue on alleged, and I'm also going to discuss it on your show here as an alleged that he has been taking $20 off the guy, $25 every time they went down to the ministry there for the, and the reason for that money is to publish in their papers everything that is being said about the government and effort. But not knowing Eugene himself too has been affecting that. So coming back to him, I see him as somebody who is ashamed to himself, is ashamed to the Liberian people. And now, this is a guy, remember during the campaign, he began to call people cartel.
Yeah.
He began to dig and bring information. So you will imagine that this man, what he did during the campaign, that he will be a zero tolerance individual who will stand for the truth, who will stand for the right thing.
But I don't mean to cut you off. Like you said, I mean, honestly, the entire planet knows that he came up with that stigma against the settlers, or I mean, they are all Liberians, you know, as cartels. But surprisingly, I do have his video. I saw just a couple of days ago, Eugene was on air begging diasporan Liberians, begging from all walks of life.
We'll come to that. Just hold your peace. I will come to that, right? But let me just expand on this cartel thing. He calls Ellen cartel. He called Joe Boyka cartel.
Yeah.
What happened during the course of this week? The very cartels were the people that President Weah called into office for consultation.
Definitely.
So is President Weah himself a cartel now? And is Eugene part of the cartel? These are questions that the media is supposed to be asking Mr. Fagon. So that said, the protest Mr. Fagon is talking about, he should be ashamed of himself.
I mean, even besides that, again, I'm sorry, I think Eugene have been reduced to a level where it is about time for Judge Weah to even let him go, because when they had a meeting, he and Yeke Koluba, he was excused amongst all ministers and all government officials by demand. He was excused from that meeting, showing, you know, no regard and respect to him, that actually reduced him and making him less of an important individual to this government. So don't you think Judge Weah should have a rethink about this Eugene guy?
Not only Eugene, I think Samuel Tuer need to be replaced. I think McGill need to be replaced. I think Pizzo Tar need to be replaced. And I think Eugene Fagon should have been gone from the day he insulted Eric Snow, because that was a gross disrespect, not only based on the standards of being a minister and the code that represent and protect government officials, but he also humiliated the standard that our country should have for high-profile officials in our country. If that happened in the United States, where a government official is seen in the public, not only insulting but also drunk, President Weah lowered the bar when the Senate, even without the Senate, remember, the representative said he was not a governmental material. It only got stopped because some intervention from whatever back end deal they talk about with Erin Snow that stopped that. But I think Mr. Weah should have given Eugene the pink slip. But he knows best what he's doing. But let me come to
I will let you to continue even with the very cartels that were called to office.
Yeah, let me come to that protesting. Why you think the people protesting? The people are protesting because the campaign that we ran, when you're running on a platform, any political party that run on a platform, that platform will become a policy that will be turned into the government working policy to transform lives, to improve the environment, to make life better than where it was when they took office. Eugene Fagon's inability to even work with his boss to create a pro-tourism, to bring people, to say we are working to making the Patawi waterfall in Bon County attractive. We are working to make the Sapo National Park very attractive. Eugene Fagon has not been able to do that.
So in short, you are saying that he's misrepresenting his position.
He's not only misrepresenting, he's unqualified for that position. I mean, like I said earlier, this is a man who stood in an African store and only talk about government. Is that something that we are so?
But then where do you think the problem comes from? Because we should know better, to be able to know the kind of people that he's, entrusting with those positions. I mean, Ellie had her weak side, but one thing is Ellie knew exactly, the functionality of those different posts and positions that she could always audit, to know if those guys or those departments were actually functioning. And that was why she was always making changes within her government. So,
well, she struggled a lot, all right? And I think Ellen struggled to really straighten that line that she keep trying to bend, who have been a lesson learned from Weah in how he was going to recruit. But you see, like I said, President Weah, he came to the table with less experience. And the only reason that I supported Mr. Weah was two reasons. Number one, the opposition were in no capacity to win that election. And if I was a political investor and say, invest your money into Weah because he's going to win. And when he wins, whatever billions of dollars he gets, how much you invest in, you will get 10% of that billion. That's exactly what I did. There was no way that either of those guys could have beaten Weah because the Lavrenpo knew their scorecard. Omen Joe would have had that opportunity if he had left Ellie in Parkway with her in 2011 when she took office for the second time, but they all screw up. So now when Weah took office, he had his own agenda. Everything that people were doing, like people that are campaigning, Weah and his folks had the thing planned long time that this is what they were going to do. And they decided to go ahead and do it. And that's the result. So when you see guy like Eugene Fagon say he's going to counter protest, it's a sign of defeat. It's a sign of incompetence. It's a sign of failure. Because the very thing that people are campaigning about are policy failures that his president, his boss, the president, has failed to implement. So why is he going to go out there to go and counter protest?
Why do you think that he's also too campaigning and asking you guys to help buy bond, for the government? To help support the government financial crisis by buying bond.
Back in the days where our people and then you tell them, man, go call that Jew. And go call that Jew. Whether the big brother has spoken to the Jew and the Jew said, oh, I don't like you, but as young brother to our big brother, we eventually go and go call the Jew. And what do I mean by that? This Eugene Fagon man, he cannot even deliver in his ministry. And he is the one that's sending out there now to go and ask people to buy saving bond. Does he know what it means to have saving bond? Let the economic 101 that I did called economic analysis as an engineer. When you start right now in Liberia, people are living on what we describe as minimum wage. Minimum wage. Liberia has not reached to what we call living wage. Living wage is the one where you make maybe $1,000 every month, and then $500 or $800 of that 1,000 will cover all your expenses. Then you'll be left with $200, and that $200 is where you can go now and start investing in other things. But the people in Liberia can barely keep their head above water. The economic strength in the country, the purchasing power, is not in the country. So what do you expect Mr. Eugene Fagon to understand what I just said? He's an errand boy. He is an errand boy. They still think that Eugene, the cry he once had before, when he used to talk about the cartel, the witch, they still believe in their minds that he still got our people.
Well, here's the thing. Another thing I would like to bring to your attention. I don't know if you can expand on it too a little bit. Like you talk about how limited Eugene is, but he kind of appeared to the general public like someone who is well inclined. I always see him. I also saw him today. Keep on bugging and going after these bigger names in society that could break or that can break, that even there when it comes to the bond. And you rightly made mention a few minutes ago about the economic situation, the living standard, of the people in the country, or if I would say the common man. So in short, when Eugene was speaking about buying bonds, logically, if even he's not spelling it out, any rational and well-taught individual should be able to understand that he's speaking to these same big names that have the money, that he considered to be cartels. He's speaking even to the very diasporan Liberians that he wants encourage that America should deport, because they don't have their papers and it speaks against the government. Don't you think that this man, he doesn't even know what he's doing?
The reason in my politics I take my engineering approach and apply to politics is because we engineer, we are trained to look at deviations, cause, analysis, why. If you don't answer the question, it becomes difficult for you. Eugene Fagon, when he started the cartel, the witch, this man was in the United States. He left that country for a very long time. And he didn't understand the culture practice in Liberia. But because the Weah people were so desperate for a savior who could have a louder voice compared to Costa, and I can say this on record, right? I think the reason why they hired Eugene Fagon is because when Costa leaked that information communication between he and President Weah, and he campaigned for Boca, some leakers, I call them leakers, and Natana Magee is one of them. Some leakers, they went to Weah, calling themselves wise men, and start to not only prevent certain people, but I think part of the reason why Eugene was called on board is because they felt that Costa could not be there. That's my professional instinct from my analysis. That's how and why Eugene got that job. There was no experience, but they wanted somebody to match Costa way that he conduct himself. And from what you did during the campaign, it was based on that they took him straight to
they
the
needed somebody that could match Costa. Precisely.
But that was the wrong choice. Because why? Eugene, not everybody that wear glasses, they are smart people. No. If there were prescription that say you must be smart and bring your IQ, Eugene Falcon won't be wearing glasses because he's not smart. When he started to denigrate these people, he did not even understand the cultural practice back home to know what he was saying. And you know how today he's being exposed? Last Friday, while he was talking about Ellen and the indigenous people protesting, his indirect boss, Mr. Weah, was sitting with a cartel and negotiating with Ellen, but he was on the other side. You see, when you are inexperienced and when you are insensitive because you lack the experience, that's what happened. When you see Eugene Falcon talking about bond, he doesn't understand how bond work. You see today how the American economy right now under Donald Trump is growing. Right now, people are investing in different things because the employment rate is increasing, pay is coming correctly, the purchasing power is strong. That went down. But you have a country with 5 million people. The Liberian government combined with all the other NGOs, they don't even have up to 250,000 people that are employed in our country. How are you going to get people to buy into your bond when they are not working?
Like you said, I see how contrary he goes to things a lot. I mean, that was surely a salient and brilliant point you made. I mean, just today he was talking again about the cartel and practically naming those higher hierarchy names, and Ellen name was also counted in it. And I laugh. I'm like, but isn't Ellen the same person that, that just gone Friday was called into office by his boss?
They say you can fool the people one time, but the next time, when you come with that same trick, they will not work. It will not work. Eugene Falcon used that cartel and divisive native people campaign. It worked for him, but that was the only mojo he had. Now he coming back with it now, and everybody know who he is. Because guess what? The reason people supported him, he has shown to the people, he has proven to the people that he's not that kind of threat. And you know what? When I talk about people with character, integrity, Eugene Falcon is getting exactly what I'm talking about. That's why I say, look, it's better to live with your character than for people to judge you after they assume that you are better. Eugene Falcon got no value in that place. He has no value. He's not an added value to the government. In fact, besides the government being the largest liability to itself, Eugene Falcon is a quadruple liability to the government because he is in his own world. He's operating and saying things in his own world. Here's a man who is discussing Ellen, and Ellen is sitting down with the president. You see the discontinuity between what he does and how he does it. So he's lost in the process.
So in pretty much, in a simple term, it's like the entire government is messed up because George Weah knows, Eugene messages that he has been putting out there, but yet he's continuing in the path, that is contrary to what Eugene is doing. So it's like they are not meeting at a parallel point.
It is called lack of control. It is called lack of communication. And that one key thing that the government continue to struggle with. They don't have communication. They don't have communication protocol. Now, before I come to expand on that, I don't want the listener to be kicking themselves about the question you asked, whether President Weah in 2023, did you say whether he will be elected?
Think he's going to be re-elected, but let me hold your thoughts there before.
Hold on to that. Let me answer that because some people are very constructive in their observation on the show. Now, as the way things are right now, if he continue for the next 5 years, he's done. He's not going to win. But here, what he can do. There's nothing embarrassing about being under pressure to change things. Matter of fact, he can even begin tomorrow or Monday. He needs to let certain people go. And I would say this, Mr. Samuel Toyer, he's my best friend. We went to school together. We shared time in America. When he was even living from here I spoke. But, well, when it comes to education, that we struggle to achieve is not a privilege that we took for granted. And when people start to violate the principle of education, I don't see no friendships in it. Because you know what? If you behave like that, then you are in violation of the principle of academic standard. This man, he has been given the opportunity to improve the economy. Everything the brother has done has come strictly from theory. He's incompetent. I'm sorry to say this. There's nothing about it. Number two, Nathan McGill. McGill holds one of the key and important positions in our country. To revisit every concession that Ellen signed, to revisit every project. He doesn't even know his job. If the United Nations can come and tell you do this, but report it on time, to what level as those people gone? And like you teaching a kindergarten child that read your name here and over here you do it here and bring that people to me. That how elementary things are. He also needs to go. Eugene Fagon also needs to go.
Okay, Rennie.
The Minister of Gender needs to go.
Right.
So if he doesn't rebrand himself by letting these people go and resetting the tune and looking at strategies that will test the different sector and challenging every remaining minister to provide a vision plan and that will focus on priority area and within every 3 months of the fiscal year report those things to him to determine the progress bar, he's done. Unless,
okay, all right, Rennie.
Unless, because sometimes I'm not here to insult the voting population, but they are another risk factor that you don't want to overlook. They are just the state of Ohio. When Ohio went in favor of George Bush against John Kerry, even though George Bush took jobs from the people, they still went ahead and voted for him. So it will play a key role. Remember, you kill my pa, you kill my ma, I will vote for you. Do not underestimate our people. They can sway anywhere. So
all right. So let me hold you there, Randy. We are going to take a quick break.
Okay.
And I want you to be right there.
Okay.
So folks, so we are taking a very quick break and we are going to be coming back. And the next thing we're going to be discussing and looking at is the trip of Yeke Koluba, to the different counties as well. And the threat that Yeke Koluba has been receiving, including, Prince Johnson making the statement that no one else goes into Nimba unless they do get his permission. So sit back there while we try to take a quick break here, and we will be back, with things here with you.
What would you say spurred on the civil war at the time?
Oh, again, because the poor got poorer. There were no opportunities for people to compete for leadership, for political office. The elites are those who benefited from economic gains. So that led, first of all, to a coup d'etat. And the coup d'etat replaced someone where the constraints the constraints in the society continue, and eventually it led to 2 decades of civil war.
Some people don't have money to go and buy truckload of sand, so they come here and buy a bag of sand. The people want to send to do that the poor people, they want to do their love renovation because the structure that got damaged during the war. So sell it to them.
We as combatants will make our to understand that if they're not pay off, then we'll continue our own country here. We don't want to spoil it. So we'll continue to spoil it. We'll spoil it.
At that time, after the coup d'etat, and when you were running when you were running part of the elections as well, do you think that in hindsight, that your support for Charles Taylor, as you had said during the TRC, may have been wrong?
Oh yes, everyone's support for Charles Taylor had a lot of support. Perhaps even still does. Yes, I was wrong.
Why? What makes you say that?
Well, because the whatever were the motivation for his taking leadership were never achieved.
What do you think informs that? Because earlier on, for instance, we were speaking to His Excellency Obasanjo as well, and he was speaking about how he supported President Buhari and voted for President Buhari, but in hindsight, he feels that he took the wrong decision. What would you say for you is that moment that said, actually, I shouldn't have done this?
You know, the one thing we want to stay away from is trying again to politicize our society. We've had enough of that in our lifetime. Charles Taylor is gone. We should let him go in peace. Our nation wants to find new ways for unity and reconciliation, and so I don't want to get any more into that. I think I've said what I had to say on that.
Do you think you still owe the nation an apology?
No.
Why not?
I said no.
Yeah, I understand, but why do you feel that
Apology
you don't owe?
for what?
For supporting a man who would later turn on his country?
That's an unwarranted assumption on your part.
So you don't believe that you owe...
Did we come to this interview to talk about Liberian politics? I thought we were talking about democracy.
We're speaking about, but this is part of the process of democracy.
You don't define what I say. We're here to talk about democracy. You want to talk Liberian politics? Come to Liberia and I'll give you full time to do it.
Sure, ma'am.
This interview has ended.
But we're also speaking about...
No.
Don't you think that this is part of democracy?
You don't hijack people this way. You know, you plan something, you want an interview to talk about Liberian politics, say so. Then we do that, and I'll give you full coverage. But if you tell me we're coming to talk about democracy at a time when I come to a conference on democracy,
sure,
and all you want to talk about is Charles Taylor, please.
But the conversation then continues, ma'am. This is not the only topic that we'll be focusing on.
At this stage, my whole state of mind is that I've been hijacked.
I apologize.
I don't like that.
I apologize that you feel that way, ma'am. Do you care to speak about the TRC?
No. Interview's ended.
It was the Americans who put pressure.
On our tip, as soon as we get on, let me provide my analysis on that.
Okay, so folks, welcome right back here, right to the People's Station. This is your platform where we bring to you news, sport, press release, You just name it, the whole nine, yeah. And we are based right here in the United States. Very soon, we are going to be coming live from in Liberia, and you can listen to this broadcast live and direct as well from our online radio. Right now, you go to our website. We are live there. It's radiolbr.com. www.radiolbr.com. And our app is on TuneIn Radio. You can look us up there. If you have TuneIn app right on your phone, just check us out, Radio LBR or LBR Radio. Our app will pop up immediately. You can start listening, to this live broadcast. And we have our personal app on the Play Store that you can download for free. That is Radio LBR or LBR Radio. It pops up and it is free. It takes a second to download, and you can always have us right on your phone on the go, that you cannot miss any of these interesting programs and conversation. So, Mr. Randy, before you, let's say, speak to that, I would like to take us off air again a little bit here. A quick
Okay.
look at things back here. So just stay there.
All right, sure.
Okay, Randy, we are back.
All right. At least I want to finish my list off. And I eating my little potty here.
So let's just say roughly we have what? How long do you think you can go? Maybe up to
Let me see
12,
my time here, yeah, because
maybe up to what, 1 your time, because we left for my end it's like 4 minutes to 12.
hold on, my phone is 4 minutes to 12. Let me see quickly here. I think I can spare you maybe about 1:30. We can do 1:30, and I'll be good to go by 1:30.
Okay, sounds good. So so as I was saying, that when we get back, we were going to look at the visiting or the campaign that, not campaign, but the rounds that Yeke Koluba is making. I think he's District 10 representative, right?
I believe so, but I cannot confirm that now.
Okay.
I believe
Yeah,
so,
the rounds he's making because of the, the saying going around that this rally is going to be a mess and not even peaceful. So not even peaceful, rather. So Yeke Koluba is going around. He tolling the various counties to give them the assurance, of the protest. And we saw that within that protest, there were people that show concern of the current economic situation within the country. But before we go on that, Mr. Randy, this is the flow that you talk about addressing alien behavior during that interview.
Yes. So you see, every monkey black hand will show one day. Ellen was oppressing during the Doe era that disregarded the Constitution, that disregarded human rights, because Ellen felt that whatever Doe was doing didn't deserve any constitutional due process. So she went ahead and did what she could do and managed to come and support the MPFL. As a matter of fact, she said she only get $10,000 for humanitarian purpose, and it was not something that meant to take 250,000 lives of our people. And we caught her slack. She became president, and she ensured that Taylor himself went to jail. Now, according to her, she went to attend some type of workshop on democracy. But if you look at everything that Ellen was doing in Liberia, wasn't that something that was not subscribing to democracy in Ellen's eyes? And everything that she did, wasn't she fighting on behalf of democracy? Now, when she was asked those questions, tell us about the situation in Liberia. She started off with the elite class, that they had certain elite class of people in the country that were totally in control, and because of that, the majority were left out. And she spoke about the coming of the coup d'etat, and because the elite class had a constraint that did not give opportunity for what I believe is total democracy, that talk about justice, total representation, equality, and freedom. So it led to coup d'etat. The reason it went that far is because the process of democracy was not in due process for all. And as he said, the constraint continues with Doe, and it had 2 decades of civil war. And right in that journalist's mind, Ellen had rolled over her story into Taylor. Now they asked her, did you regret supporting Taylor? She admitted, she said yes. But do you take responsibility for Taylor's action?
Why she said no?
Because Ellen would tell you, say chicken can lay egg, but do you own any chicken that have egg? No. But you have chicken that can lay egg. And the reason here is Ellen got busted. And if you listen to the interview,
sure.
Let me say this. Ellen know that there are people who are calling for the economic and war crime code. And all along, everywhere Ellen has gone, her interview has been stage managed. She know exactly which question will come to her. So this one, she let her guard down because she said she was going to discuss democracy, not knowing the guy had done their homework. That journalist said some things that, you remember when she started the story, it was sweet, it was a very good story. But when the Taylor thing came in, now she started to push back when they asked her for responsibility. And what the journalist did was, he brought Obasanjo's scenario with General Buhari, that he supported this man and he felt regret and he has some responsibility for his action. And he said, I don't like what Taylor did. That is, I had chicken. But do you have chicken that have egg?
No.
Oh, but you know that chicken can lay egg? What are you talking about chicken can lay egg? Wait till you have chicken. So, did you take responsibility for Taylor action? If Ellie say, yes, I do, then where Taylor is, she also supposed to go there too.
Exactly. That is a great point.
That's why she got very defensive.
Yeah.
So when the guy came out once, he said, if you think that Liberian politics should be part of this, then that means that she got into a defensive mode now, because people like you and myself and other smart people will say, you know what, the thing the woman see, this thing can be used in court against us. So she pushed back on it. Now, she got cornered. And I asked her, the guy said, okay, this is part of the interview process. oh, you know, Taylor is over. But the guy asked her, why you think you disappointed in Taylor? What Taylor supposed to have done, he did not accomplish it. Now, what the Liberian body will be asking Elena, what did you think that Taylor did that he did not accomplish as leader? Did you send him to Kyoto so that you can become president? And number two, when the guy asked her now this question, if you take responsibility, she said no. And the guy said, okay, it's going to be part of the ongoing conversation. And then she said, no, I'm not here to discuss about Taylor. So she stuck, she removed the Congo people own, she removed her own, and focused on Taylor. I have to say that from the time they asked her the question, it was all about Taylor. And then she started to go defensive now. No, Taylor is this, Taylor is that. Matter of fact, the whole interview, I think it was planned. You hear what she said? We always think about crooked thing. The whole interview was stage planned. Right now, my mind is hijacked. So right in that position, she made herself victim to the guy. But she was like a venomous snake that had already been hit, but is trying to escape. So she told the guy, oh, my mind has been hijacked. I'm so confused. And right in that time, the guy said, I'm sorry. And he said, good, that's what I want. Because as long he had taken an apology, there go the opportunity for me to leave. Because he admitting to Ellen that he had done something wrong. So the moment he said, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. And I understand. Can we continue? The moment he said, I'm sorry, interview over, Ellen escaped.
But don't you think that was enough for President Weah not to have even affiliated himself or aligned himself with this woman by calling her into the overall office this coming Friday?
Well, from what I'm hearing, somebody told me that Donald Trump will call Hillary Clinton and say, how you doing, Mother Clinton? So I'm hearing also too that Mr. Weah will call his opponent, Man Ellen. I know we Liberians, we are respectful, but on the political football field, your opponent, your opposition should not be given that level of respect. Because in the eyes of different Liberians, they will see you as weak, as incompetent. Ellen Johnson said it, and President Weah should have no interaction as long as he's president. Ellen can go swing by, but that swing by should just be about hello and goodbye because I got job to do. But for him to bring Ellen over there, the deal was done a long time ago. That President Weah was going to give Ellen what Ellen wants. And that's how come today the question about why President Weah has not audited Ellen still remain in the scars of Liberia. He is yet to tell us. Because President Weah did not tell us where he met Ellen with the country. People will say he said it by his mouth. I can tell you right now that Joe Weah got $20,000. I mean $20 million that what he paid out. Do you think that will be enough evidence for people to be persuaded to agree with that? No. When whatever the mouth says, it should be supported by documentation.
Okay.
Ellen had said that the country did well on her whole, but we don't know how much accomplishment that she has carried out, and President Weah did not tell us.
Okay, so let's move forward now before we run out of time. Looking at Yekia Koluba rounds he been making, and we learned that Prince Johnson have threatened that no one goes into Nimba without his approval. Yet Alexander Cummings still went ahead. Yekia Koluba also too went ahead. What do you think is the problem? I mean, why is Prince Johnson flipping?
Look, my brother, since that war came to an end, if you see our fellow Liberians walking in our town and they all dress up, and you think Liberia is a normal society, then you are not old enough to study history. you are not old enough to know that there are people within our population in our country who have done a lot of heinous things to our people. Most of the people who experienced the war, whether they were victims or perpetrators, they are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Right? Prince Johnson is one of the top-ranking persons that have PTSD. Remember, during the war, they men kill people and can't ask for them. And when we elected him, or the people in Nimakande elected him.
Mm-hmm.
So in Prince Johnson world, not the normal world, but the abnormal world, he still see Nimakante as authority that belong to his IMPFL. You remember back in the days, they would say, but we're not going to territory that Nima people, MPFL territory, or don't go in and pay for Unimoke. That's how Prince Johnson is still living today. But I'm glad that people are letting him know that he's not the one that gave birth to Nima County. Nima County is the one that gave birth to him.
But what I heard is that actually Prince Johnson descendant is not from Nimba. In fact, the Johnson name is not a Nibadian name. Says I think it is in line with Ellen, background. So he's not a true son of Nimba.
That story, that other part will be another day. But let me say this. Just how all the African American got these civilized names that don't represent African.
Mm-hmm.
When the settler went back to Liberia, they carried some form of slavery where they were changing people's names to own it as property.
You want Eugene to come by again? You want to get Eugene ideas to come bash people again?
No, I'm not giving ideas. These are studies that I did. When you come to America, you go to you go to school that allow you to study about African. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching my past video. I don't know whether you guys can hear me. I'm sure you guys should be able to hear me here. Let's see here. So much for watching my past video. Yeah, so you guys can hear me here, and thank you so much for watching my past video. That video was around 2000 and it was 2019. Yes, 2019. When the gentleman you saw what had called me up because I have my own show, and I always have people coming on my show. And that gentleman, he used to call on Radio LIB, but eventually he established his own radio station, and then he decided to call me on the show to join him to have that interview, and I decided to conduct that interview. And most of you that saw that interview, I want to say thank you for watching. That just me. And what I do on Facebook, I tend to keep it, and I will just keep it that way. So what I would like to do here now is to close the show, and let's get on the other side so that we can start a conversation, because we don't have any video to present here tonight. So I'm just going to use my phone to do the broadcast. So I would like to ask you to please log out and join me on the other side. All right. So thank you guys so much. So let's log out of here and go on the other side. All right. So I'll see you guys maybe between 5 to 10 minutes. I'll see you guys. Bye, guys.